Well, most of you know that I'm Carol, and it's good to be sharing with you this morning. Colin is handing around the notes that you can write in. You can do what you like. You can make paper darts while I'm talking this morning. But hopefully that'll be the follow-through of what we're going to be talking about this morning. Today we're starting a 3-week series sort of building on emotional healthy spirituality that we did last year, looking at these painful emotions that Christine has been sort of talking about, of fear, of sadness and anger, and how we listen to them, and then how we allow transformation, God's transformation of them, to bring good outcomes in our lives. We've based this a lot on the Inside Out movie. Hands up if you've seen it. It's a great movie, isn't it? Now, we're prepared to show it one Sunday night somewhere, we don't know where. If you want to come along, see it and discuss it as a group. So that's, if you're interested in that, come and see me. But today, I guess as we start a series looking at emotions, and particularly painful emotions, there's probably different responses we have. My response has been, as I prepared for today, is I'm just a learner. For me, even though I can accept painful emotions in my life, I push them away so easily, or I just want to push them away. They're too difficult, they're too hard. I can even feel a failure to have them. I can't be doing something right. And they certainly, I'd find them very difficult for when I experience them to actually feel they could be friends. I could make friends with them. For some of us, our responses may be that we shouldn't even be talking about emotions in the community of faith. It's not an appropriate topic. It could be that we are aware that our mantras of our childhood around emotions live very well in our lives. Feelings that could not be trusted was something that often we were told. I was told you could not trust your feelings. You shouldn't be sad, you should be happy. Just like that. Or sometimes even parents have said, I will give you this big bit of chocolate if you'd just be happy. And so we denied often sadness or whatever that was going on. But it might be that actually you're quite open to this. I was talking with a Manly Music mum on Wednesday morning, and I was telling her about the upcoming series that we're doing here. And she said, hey, that's exactly where I'm at. And she's really ready to look at some of the painful emotions that swirl in her life. So we may be there. You may be there. We come with all different responses as we enter something like this. And I've got written down on your list, and it's something for you to go home and ponder after your afternoon nap this afternoon. What were the mantras around emotions that were part of your childhood? So that's a question for you to ponder this afternoon. But first of all, we're going to look at the place of emotions in the Bible. And of course, most of us are very well aware that the Bible is full of emotions, isn't it? We've got the positive emotions. Psalm 1, happy are those that do not follow the advice of the wicked. We've got Psalm 16, you show me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. In your right hand there's pleasures forever. And then there's the painful emotions. Psalm 7 expresses that. I am weary with my moaning. My eyes are wasted away with grief. And Joseph, as he confronts his brothers and he declares who he is towards his brothers, he wept loudly in front of them, even to the point the Egyptians in other rooms could hear. And so they were very exuberant with their emotions. I like this particular quote. Our Hebrew ancestors were utterly at home with those forceful feelings. Every moment of the heart, however painful and pleasurable turn them towards Yahweh. But sadly, Stoic philosophy came into the Greek-speaking world, and that said that we need to create a place of tranquility and negate the movements of passion and emotion. So the Jesus of the gospel that was full of emotions became mild and meek. Fear was expressed in being afraid of doing things wrong. Guilt was feeling you've done wrong, and anger was seen as one of the 7 deadly sins. So they were negated, put into a very negative, destructive place in lives, or seen to be that way, and to be pushed away at all times. And then, of course, for us, that has permeated our thinking, and then we've had the rational, scientific thinking that's become the focus, that facts are to be relied about. What we know scientifically, what we know rationally is what we should be looking at. And so therefore feelings were not to be relied upon in any way. I was brought up in some of my teaching with what we called the fact, faith and feeling train. Did anybody know about that, or was it just me, And we were told that as we move in our Christian faith, there's facts of the Bible, we've got to believe them in faith, and the feelings will follow. But sometimes the feelings didn't follow, and sometimes the feelings couldn't be expressed because they were feelings of doubt, and they went against what you had been told that was fact. And so therefore for me, I often felt a terrible sense of guilt that I didn't quite get it right, didn't quite make up to it. And then we have the discourse, which is, I believe, a true discourse, that we cannot be controlled by our feelings. And that is true. We don't want our feelings to control us. We were in Australia just a couple of weeks ago, and we were at my niece's wedding in the hinterland on the way to Toowoomba. And as we were coming up to the homestead where this wedding was, we noticed there had been a burnt paddock on the right. And we heard when we arrived at the site that there'd been a fire the night before. And so while we were, that day when the wedding was on and the reception was happening, the food wasn't coming out quick enough, but the drink was there, we noticed we had a little sort of interesting thing where we saw fire engines coming up the driveway. Then we saw ambulances. Then we saw fire water trucks because it was very dry. And we were told that 2 brothers are having a fight. So one lit the fire last night on the other guy's paddocks, and now there's another fire being lit tonight over there on the bush. They've got it under control, but they're just concerned of the smoke effect. And so I thought, well, that's actually 2 men being totally controlled by their feelings. And they're not actually putting much thinking around their feelings. They're just reacting to what's going on and causing quite negative destruction, actually. But so we need to put our thinking into our feelings, don't we, to get an action. But often what's happened is that our feelings have been pushed down, they've been denied, and for many people it's led to great addictions, depression, and often really dysfunctional relationships. Research has found today that when emotions are acknowledged and listened to, rational thinking is enhanced and better decisions are made. So when we put thinking and feelings together, we can come up with great insights, discernment, good decisions that bring life to our lives. So, what we're going to go to now is we're going to look at emotions. So we've got positive and painful emotions. Some people like to call them negative emotions, but I like to call them painful. But I just want some feed into here. What are some of the positive emotions we experience?
Joy.
Joy. Thank you, Leonie. Wonderful. Joy is an amazing, positive emotion. Pride. Yeah, we can be proud, rightly proud of things. When we see our children achieve so well, we've got a pride in that. That's really good. Anything else? Any other positive emotion? Gratitude. Humble. Humility. Yeah. Yep. Any? Peace. Did somebody say peace? Yes, Sabrina. Yes, peace. Great. Good. So I've written some of them down, but you've already come up with things that I haven't written down there. Like gratitude, like humility, like peace, like pride. So there's many positive emotions. And the purpose of these are really to nourish our spirits, nurture us. And we need to experience positive emotions because they give us energy, they help us thrive, they give energy to our beings, rest to the spirits. It's a way we give life to ourselves. And we find those, for us as individuals, those things can be found in different ways. On Friday night, my daughter and I, we went to Pescator restaurant for dessert. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Pescator at the Georges. You are pampered, you are delighted in, you're surprised with. Wow, the food was amazing. And I came home cloud nine because those things nurture me. Plus I'd had a great talk with my daughter and I felt good. It was life-giving for me. So what about some of the painful emotions of life? What are some of those? Give me some examples of the things that we feel pained in, that causes us pain, that we want to shy away from. What are some of those things? Big pardon? Anger. Yeah, anger. Hunger. Yeah, hunger. Yeah. Tracy's been preparing this for me all week and she says the only feeling that Nigel has is hunger. And in fact, it is a feeling because we know it's a feeling when think doesn't think. I think hungry. No, I feel hunger. I feel hungry. So you're right, hunger. Yep. Worry, huge thing, we worry. Yep, that's so true, Leonie. Yeah, what are some of the other negative or painful emotions that we feel? Grief. Yeah, grief. It's a very sad, painful emotion. Disappointment. Yeah. And that's something we feel, the disappointment. What's that? Revenge. Yeah, revenge. We want to prove them right. Fight back. Rejection, yeah. Painful, yeah. So I put some up here, but of course you've already added more because there's whole lists of these things. But painful emotions do defend our life and our dignity. When we get hungry, we need to be fed, look after ourselves. Revenge, we often want to fight back and say, I am right here, and often we are. We want to say, I'm a good person, I don't need to be rejected like this, And so they do defend our life and our dignity. And they help us to respond often to immediate danger. When we are in a fear-provoking situation or a dangerous situation. But they are only designed to be intense and transient. And sadly, they're often very energy-sapping. And so, sadly, though, if we live with them and if we don't sit with them and name them, they become quite chronic in our lives, don't they? And they sort of come out in other ways. So what we're going to look at now is sadness. And sadness can come to us in many and various ways. We can feel sadness when we're hurt, when we're lonely, when we're discouraged, when we're rejected, when we can feel depressed. There's a gloom in us. And it's often associated with things that are happening in our lives: loss, grief, failure, disappointment, transitions. And that's something that we very much see in the Inside Out movie. It's interesting, when sadness happens, our body slows down, and it's an invitation to focus on this response. I've got a very good clip out of, will we do it? Looking at sadness, and the way that sadness, if you've seen the movie, comes with Bing Bong. Bing Bong is Riley's imaginary childhood friend, and he's feeling sad because Riley, some of the things that they played together are being destroyed in Riley's mind. And so sadness sits with Bing Bong. So can we see that clip?
Oh, the stuffed animal hall of fame! My rocket! Wait, Riley and I were still using that rocket. It still has some song power left. Who's your friend who likes to play? No, you can't take my rocket to the dump. Riley and I are going to the moon. Riley can't be done with me.
Hey, it's gonna be okay. We can fix this. We just need to get back to headquarters. Which way to the train station?
I had a whole trip planned for us.
Hey, who's ticklish, huh? Here comes the tickle monster. Hey, Bing Bong, look at this. Oh, here's a fun game. You point to the train station and we all go there. Won't that be fun? Come on, let's go to the train station.
I'm sorry they took your rocket. They took something that you loved. It's gone. Forever.
Sadness. Don't make him feel worse.
Sorry.
It's all I had left of Riley.
I bet you and Riley had great adventures.
Oh, they were wonderful. Once we flew back in time. We had breakfast twice that day.
Sadness.
It sounds amazing. I bet Riley liked it.
Oh, she did. We were best friends.
Yeah, it's sad.
I'm okay now. Come on. The train station is this way.
How did you do that?
I don't know. He was sad, so I listened to what...
Hey! There's the train!
Oh, we made it! We're finally gonna get home! Facts and opinions look so similar.
Don't worry about it. Happens all the time.
Right, great. Thanks. I guess that's really a beautiful picture of what sadness does in our lives. And we often need somebody to sit with our sadness, don't we? And help us cry the tears. But we need to allow ourselves to be sad. And that's what sadness allowed Bing Bong to do. Joy couldn't do that, could she? And it was just really allowing sadness to be present with Bing Bong. A beautiful, beautiful picture. We see sadness in the New Testament. And I've picked out a couple of things that have probably spoken to me. Luke 8:18 to 24, of the rich young ruler. And we probably all know that story really well, where he wanted to know what it was for he could get eternal life. But the thing about was that he became he was very wealthy. And Jesus said, if you'd give up your wealth, then you could have eternal life. And the sad thing was that he was unwilling to do that. And the passage here says, when he heard this, he became very sad. And we don't know the journey of what this rich young ruler did, whether he sat with that sadness or whether he just went away and lived with the sadness He couldn't actually ask the questions of the sadness. Why is wealth important to me? Why am I between these two? What is the tension that's going on? We don't know that, but he went away very sad. The other place that I'm drawn to when we look at sadness and sorrow is the Garden of Gethsemane. We're not going to read that. We're going to see it renditioned and sung by a 3-year-old. So thanks.
Jesus climbs the hill to the garden still. His steps were heavy and slow. Love and a prayer took him there to the place only he could go. Gethsemane, Jesus loves me, so he went willingly to Gethsemane. He felt all that was said, wicked or bad, was the pain we would ever know. While his friends were asleep, he thought to keep his promise made long ago. Gethsemane, Jesus loves me, so he went willingly to Gethsemane. The hardest thing that ever was done, the greatest pain that ever was known, the biggest battle that ever was won. This was done by Jesus. The fight was won by Jesus. Gethsemane, Jesus loves me, so he gives his gift to me in Gethsemane. Gethsemane, Jesus loves me, so he gives his gift to me in Gethsemane.
Isn't that a powerful song? There was that longing for Jesus in Gethsemane for his disciples to stand with him. And when we're in deep sorrow in our own lives, we long for people to stand with us. But he was willing to go through his sorrow and his pain, to have that courage to go to the cross and to do it for us, to show his deep love. We're just going to finish looking just quickly at how do we cross the bridge? How do we, when we have a painful, a sadness, a disappointment, what do we do? What do we need to do? I've pushed them away so often. I feel I'm just an utter failure for having them. But that's not the way. It wasn't the way of Jesus in Gethsemane. He felt that pain. So I believe as we ponder, as we take an emotion we're experiencing, we need to let it We need to cross the bridge. Let it be a place of prayer where we move from what we're experiencing to actually what we can learn from it, what God might be showing us, how we might act as a response of it, what might be God's invitation to us. So I've written on your list, on your handouts, all these questions you can use as you cross that bridge, as you look at the emotion. They're saying that naming emotions are becoming much more important, and it does a work in our brain of bringing more life to us. It's not always easy to name an emotion. We don't always have the vocabulary to. But we can sit it and we can feel it, and we can ask the questions of it. So those are just some tools, again, I want to offer you and your prayers as we look at emotions and our responses that go on. Just, I guess also the other thing that I haven't got written on your handout is just, if we go back to sadness, what are the things that you're sad about at the moment? What are the setbacks, the disappointments that are impacting you? What losses are we carrying? Sometimes are losses that we've carried for a while and we don't know what to do with them. And so it's to reflect on that and what might God be speaking or shaping you through these things. Now, we have some Chinese here this morning, don't we? And we've got a Chinese symbol, which I hope I've got correctly interpreted. And if you haven't, you can tell me. But it's a Chinese symbol of, what does that mean anything to you? Of patience. Patience. Yeah. Is that correct, Winnie? No? Yep, patience, tolerance. Great. Good. And apparently it shows a knife poised over a heart. And I guess our prayer is that we have the willingness to hold still in painful settings, to protect our heart until we know what we're feeling and we've done the journey with the feelings that we are feeling. And so the heart, that symbol is that heart, a knife over our heart to protect our heart and not let it be destroyed or hurt in some way, but to allow us to do the journey of healing. So thank you. I hope that's been helpful in your journey as we look at some of these painful emotions. And next week we'll be looking at fear, and then the week following, anger. So thank you.